Chapter 942. Alex responded before he stepped into the kitchen. In truth, there was still a box of eggs in the refrigerator. Since he did not want to give Elaine any single one of the eggs at all, he broke all of the eggs before pouring them into the drainage system. Although it would be a little wasteful to pour them into the drainage system, Alex felt that it was even more wasteful if it went into Elaine's stomach. After that, Alex grabbed a pot and boiled some hot water before he threw in a handful of noodles into the pot. As he was preparing the noodles, he suddenly received a text message on his cell phone. He opened his text messages and he realized that someone had sent a text message to him in the group chat, Oris Hill Welfare Institute Friends. The 20 to 30 people in this group chat consisted of the group of orphans who have been taken in and raised by Mrs. Brown. All of them had already integrated into society for many years now, and most of them were already scattered all over the country. Therefore, they did not share such a close relationship with one another anymore. Alex clicked into the group chat and he realized that the person did not direct the message to him, but she was actually directing the message to everyone in the group. The message was sent by a girl named Linda Faye from the orphanage. The content read, "Let me secretly tell everyone some good news. Mrs. Brown has already recovered from her illness and has already returned to Oris Hill." Linda was a girl that Alex had met at the orphanage. This little girl was abandoned by her parents not long after she was born. Mrs. Brown was the one who had taken her in and brought her up. She was about 2 to 3 years younger than Alex, and he had always regarded her as his younger sister. Mrs. Brown did not know what her last name was. Therefore, she decided to name her Linda Jo, after her own last name. After Linda grew up and turned into an adult, she started working with Mrs. Brown at the orphanage. She was the only person amongst all of their friends that year who chose to remain and continue working for the orphanage. When Alex saw her saying that Mrs. Brown had already recovered from her illness, he hurriedly asked in the group, "Why didn't Mrs. Brown tell us that she is already back? We could have picked her up then." Linda replied, "Brother Alex, Mrs. Brown said that she did not want to cause any trouble to anyone. That is why she did not inform anyone about this matter at all. I only found out about this when she suddenly came back to the orphanage this afternoon." Alex asked again, "How is Mrs. Brown's health now? Does she look okay? Has she already gone back to work at the orphanage after she has just recovered and got discharged from the hospital?" Linda responded, "Yes. Don't you know what kind of person Mrs. Brown is? Brother Alex, you should understand her personality very well. She has already been away from the orphanage for such a long time and she misses the children a lot. I think that she is going crazy with worry." After that, Linda said again, "But I can see that Mrs. Brown is really in good health. She does not look like a person who had been seriously ill at all. It seems as though she has already been fully restored to her original condition." Alex heaved a huge sigh of relief. After all, Nolan sent Mrs. Brown to Fairview Hospital, which was the best hospital in Westcliff. He even paid $2 million for Mrs. Brown's medical expenses, which included a very high-end post-operative recovery program. At this time, the other people in the group chat also began replying to the messages. Mrs. Brown had already been discharged from the hospital? That is great news. At this time, a person named Ian suddenly said in the group, "Everyone. Since Mrs. Brown has already recovered and been discharged from the hospital, I would like to suggest for all of our friends who are in Oris Hill to go to the orphanage and visit Mrs. Brown today. After that, we will find a restaurant to treat her to dinner then. What do you guys think of my suggestion?" "Yes, Ian. I think that is a very good idea. I will be getting off work soon and I can go there any time after this." "That's right. Mrs. Brown's recovery is a very happy and joyous occasion. We have to visit her." Linda sent a happy emoji to the group chat. After that, she said, "That is the reason why I sent the message to inform everyone about Mrs. Brown's return in the first place. Since all of us have not seen Mrs. Brown or met up with one another in a long time, We should take advantage of this opportunity to get together and have a meal with Mrs. Brown. I believe that Mrs. Brown will also be very happy. Oh, can't you guys who are in Oris Hill wait for another day or two? You guys should wait for those of us who are outstationed to rush back. I can buy a plane ticket now and be back in Oris Hill by tomorrow. After that, Ian said, it would be most auspicious and ceremonial for us to host a welcome dinner for her on the day of her return,